Well, good evening and welcome to the program. This is Red Ring Unfiltered. My name is Emmanuel Oma. Now, yesterday, the former president of the Republic of Kenya, His Excellency Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, came to the political stage and stirred the political waters. Everybody is left wondering why and why now, and of course, is the opposition still united? And what does this mean for the current regime, which will be probably seeking re-election come 2027? And to help us discuss this issue is none other than Mr. Odoyo Owidi, a senior political analyst and one of the best political commentators in Africa and of course in Kenya. Thank you so much, Mwalimu, for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Emmanuel.
How are you?
For lifting me and uplifting me.
Oh,
I'm good. I'm good. Actually, this thing of Uhuru is one thing I've always wanted to talk about.
Yes.
Because all along, I have always believed that Uhuru still has hangover of being president. He has never wanted to leave the presidency in the first place.
Yeah.
I think you can remember that before his last term ended,
yes,
he came up with the so-called handshake, and within the handshake, he wanted to have something called BBI.
Yes.
And in that something called BBI, Uhuru wanted Raila to be president, and he wanted to become the prime minister. And to become the prime minister, he brought into that BBI a mischief of adding constituencies in areas that were believed to be stronghold. So that when we go to parliament to elect the prime minister, he would automatically be the one to be elected. He did not want to leave office. And even after that, even after President William Ruto was sworn in, you notice that President Uhuru Kenyatta, the former, was being accused of sponsoring the street protests that were carried out by Azimio throughout the country. When that flopped, it is believed that he was behind the Gen Z uprising. It is also known that there was something called the Muru 3 conference. It is also believed that he was behind it. But take a look at what we have today.
Yes.
All these political parties that have come up, that are opposition, that are trying to remove President William Ruto from office, it is Uhuru's Jubilee, it is Gachagua's DCP, it is Karwa's PLP.
Yes.
The only odd one out there is Kalonzo Musyoka's Wiper. And these three other parties that are led by members of Uhuru's community, it is believed that their leaders are people who have always been sponsored for active political activity in the country. Nevertheless, let's go back at Uhuru's legacy that gives him no moral authority to talk about Ruto's successes or failures. Number one, it is during President Uhuru Kenyatta that we came up with something called the Big Four agenda.
Yes.
Number one of the Big Four agenda was manufacturing. I can tell you for free that if you walk length and breadth of this country looking for a manufacturing plant that came up as a result of Uhuru's Big Four agenda, you will not find anything. Number two was affordable housing. He never even put the hoe to the ground to build the first affordable house. Pangani? President William Ruto came and did them. Pangani was squarely built by National Housing that was there even during Kibaki and during Moi and even before. Coming out of the affordable housing, which Uhuru even saw it as an idea, saw it as a good thing, he cannot come and now attack it. After that, there was now the universal health coverage. Yes. I personally sat down behind the President Uhuru Kenyatta in Kisumu, as he launched his universal health coverage. It never took off. Nobody ever benefited from the universal health coverage. It took President William Ruto to come and launch what is now known as Taifa Care, that gave birth to SHA. SHA has 4 children that it is taking care of. One of them has replaced NHIF, and that is SHIF. The other one is emergency, chronic, and critical diseases fund.
Yes.
And then there is the health infrastructure fund. So all these are being done by President William Ruto. But for President Uhuru Kenyatta to come and say that President William Ruto has replaced his Linda Mama with something untested is to get it all wrong. Because Uhuru Kenyatta knows very well, even when they were coming up with Linda Mama, they did not test it anywhere first. Number two,
Yes.
Uhuru Kenyatta should not go in public reading speeches he does not understand or he has not gone through, because he goes embarrassing himself. This Linda Mama thing is squarely and beautifully covered inside Taifa Care. The people who are benefiting from Linda Mama are now benefiting from SHA 100%. So I think he's trying to exploit the ignorance of majority of Kenyans with such speeches. And more so, Uhuru should be the last person to talk about corruption in this government. Because Uhuru is the first president in this country to use the PPP, Public-Private Partnership, to do the SGR. The SGR came from close to his land in Mariakani, in Mombasa, and came straight to his farm in Naivasha, not even passing through Nairobi. And when the railway reached Naivasha, his own farm, it went round twice. And then he was also compensated for the acres this railway line passed through in his farm. What kind of corruption could be worse than that? And that is not all. That farm was also fenced by National Youth Service. Uhuru Kenyatta purported to be reviving the railway between here and Nanyuki, purely and squarely to transport his oil. Uhuru Kenyatta lied to us that him and Raila Odinga were going to rehabilitate, rebuild the Kisumu port. They did not do it. They even allocated a budget of 3 billion, and they went, cleaned the port, removed the hyacinth around the port, and then they told us 3 billion is gone. It is President William Ruto today who is now rebuilding the port, renovating the port, and you cannot have a single port in a region. It is useless to have one bus stop and there are no others, because a bus must move. A port at a lake, you do not go and rehabilitate one port and go home. But what has President William Ruto done? He has done the port of Kisumu, and he has done the one in Homa Bay, the pair, and he's already doing the one in Kindu Bay, and he's going to do all of them, because ports must be interdependent. We can now come from Uhuru to Homa Bay, to Mbita, to Kindu Bay, to Kisumu, to Nyandiwa, and back. That is when it makes sense. Uhuru told us he's rehabilitating the railway from Nairobi to Kisumu. And even the first train which ever went through that route never even got to Kisumu safely. And that was abandoned. Money gone down the drain. So I think for President Uhuru Kenyatta to come back into the political arena and to pretend now he wants to play politics afresh is just to tell us that he still has the hangover of being the president of the Republic of Kenya. And I also must tell him, this sense of entitlement in which he thinks only him and members of his community should be the president of this country, he must stop it. I saw after Kibaki, it was clear, it was necessary, and it was good if Kibaki left power for Raila Odinga, the man who made him president in the first place. But what happened? Uhuru colluded with members of the community and Kibaki to become the president ahead of Raila Odinga. So I think that is the problem they are having again today. There is nothing President William Ruto has done. There is no crime he has committed worse than what Uhuru did. Now Uhuru Kenyatta again came up with the second PPP, the expressway. And today we do not even know who was the other partner in the expressway. And nobody made noise. Uhuru was silent. His community members were silent. Leaders in his party were silent as he did the expressway. When President William Ruto now took over from where Uhuru left, he did universal health care take. When he attempted to do the airport by building another terminal using the public-private partnership, they hit the roof and started calling Adani a thief, a criminal company, and so on, because they believe and know that in these projects there is a lot of money involved, and they believed and thought President William Ruto was also after that money the way they were with the railway and with the expressway. So President William Ruto has to ignore Uhuru and let us handle him and tell him the mistakes he has made to this country. He had big for agenda, none of them picked off, and is returning to talk to us as if we have forgotten. We have not forgotten.
Okay, but even so, Mwalimu, even when the Adani thing was around, Adani was indicted in a foreign jurisdiction.
Sorry?
Adani Group Holdings was indicted in a foreign jurisdiction.
I must tell you something which you need to understand. The international community, when they want to know something about Kenya, they monitor the local media. And they monitor the local media the way the media was talking about Adani. And that indictment of Adani in the US has happened to very many other companies. Those are largely civil issues. They always appear in every other company. Ata Safaricom, ukitaka today, to find something wrong with it, something it is doing wrong, you will find. For me, there is a giant company called Adobe. I subscribed to use their software. I stopped officially, but they still charged me almost 6 months on end. If I were to take that to court, it would be a criminal offense. It doesn't mean Adobe cannot do business with any other company or with any other organization.
Yeah.
There are millions of people around the world using Adobe, despite the fact that I feel defrauded by them.
Yes.
If one entity feels defrauded by one company, they go to court, they win the case, and they get compensated, and the company proceeds with business. Because sometimes criminal offenses are not entirely intentional. There can be negligence of employees, they can be oversight by the company, and they become something they did not foresee. So the fact that there was an issue with Adani from the United States, and in any case, I am sure that thing came into prominence because of the noise and hullabaloo that was being made about Adani in Kenya. When a company like Adani goes into business with a state like Kenya, there is a properly written agreement and terms of reference and terms of service and relationship agreement that is written, that if followed to the letter, even if Adani was a robbery company, was a criminal company, if they follow that to the letter, and Kenya also follows to the letter, there is nothing wrong. But these many people we do business with, we don't know who is a thief among them, but we have a clear agenda and agreement that we follow.
But why was the Adani dealings shrouded in mystery? I mean, when we talk about the contract that was to be given to the public, no one wants to talk about it until everybody comes in and say, you people need to give it.
I don't want to remind you that you are young, but do you remember how long we cried to be shown the agreement in SGR? And even today we have not been shown, and that was Uhuru's regime. Do you know even the company that did the expressway by name? You don't know. And here you telling me that Adani thing was shrouded in misery. Nothing can be more shrouded in misery than SGR and expressway. This theory of talking about issues that ordinarily in Kenya have always been silently done has been brought out by a community which thinks it is only them who can govern this country and others cannot. And I have told you before that even this Gen Z thing was somebody's project that he researched on, employed experts, including artificial intelligence, and they decided deliberately and intentionally to use the Gen Zs because the Gen Zs do not have the benefit of history. They are largely a very reckless age that I also passed through, and they are purists. They believe in perfection. So if you use this group, you will achieve what these people really wanted to achieve very easily and very quickly. And finally, these so-called Gen Zs, they are young people, and when you hurt a young person, the whole country is against you. So these people clearly, deliberately selected the generation of Gen Z to use. Don't think that Gen Z, this is the first time you're having young people in Kenya. Even during Uhuru, during Kenyatta, during Moi, we had young people at those times.
Yes.
And nobody misused them. But this time, somebody has chosen to misuse. Don't tell me about now, the media, the social media. Even then, we had very beautiful ways of communicating, and it served us well at that time.
Now, even as we continue this conversation, the former president yesterday alluded that there were reforms in the education sector especially when you look at the 100% transition, and of course keeping the, what do you call it, the free primary and secondary education, and of course expanding it. Do you believe in that, whatever was said?
Nope. Uhuru is just a pretender. President Uhuru Kenyatta more than once told us that by June 1st, I want all pending bills in the country to be paid. A president that gives an order he cannot keep is not worth that seat. This is one president who also is telling us that he maintained Kibaki's free primary education. First of all, let me tell them, free primary education is not something so significant we can talk about, because even before it was brought officially, it was largely free. I also went through primary school. I don't remember even paying fees. Many people have gone. There are some small fees paid for different issues.
Yes.
But if you do primary school capitation, what do you need? The teachers are already paid by TSC from the Exchequer Direct. What else would you need in primary education, which is largely day schools? So to come and tell us that free primary education was a success, it was a success because it required very little resources. And when you come and tell us that you expanded free secondary, day secondary education,
yeah,
that is semantics. What has he expanded? Has he added more schools into the system? Has he added more money in the system? Has he expanded to be done longer, or what? What is the expansion about? So Uhuru was using a speech that was written to him that he did not understand, and even if he did, he probably did not even read it to see, because he embarrassed himself in public to come and tell us he expanded. What has he expanded? Added more schools. What did he do to call that an expansion? So President Uhuru Kenyatta, the former, must know that when presidents retire, they go home. But if his newfound activism has been excited by the recent return to power of a previous president in Africa that happened, I think, in Malawi, then I think he's joking. Kenyans are now woke, and we will tell him off, and we'll tell him his time is over. It is now time for President William Ruto to do his term. And then we see how he has worked. Because all the economic indicators in this country, be it the foreign exchange rates, be it the inflation that came from 9.6 that Uhuru left it to 3.8. A person who left inflation at 9.6 and is now seeing at 3.8 to come to public to talk to us. Yeah, I think he's losing it. And that is not all.
Yeah.
There are many other economic indicators that are doing very well. For the first time in almost 10 years, KQ, Kenya Airways, made profit. Sony Sugar made profit.
But they made losses the other day, KQ.
I don't know how much loss they made, but I say for the first time in 10 years, they made profit during President William Ruto. And if they have gone down a little bit, that is acceptable, because the law of nature does not envisage always a smooth curve. It has to go up and down, zigzag. But the general trend is upward.
Upwards.
You know, Uhuru is a very interesting man. This is the man, when he saw Unga was 250 and his project Raila Odinga was approaching elections, what does he do? He creates subsidies, using the very money we have already collected as taxes to give us food so that we clap. When Uhuru saw fuel was 250 per litre and his project was approaching elections, what does he do? Subsidies, and we clap, not knowing that during President William Ruto will come to pay this. And people have told me many times, oh, you know, Uhuru left the external debt at 9.6 and now it is 11 point something. If Ruto didn't do anything about it, it would be 20 now, 20 trillion. Because that very one that was left is earning interest almost at 10%. So it means every year it would have been increasing by 1 trillion compound. And that is not what has happened. So Uhuru exploiting the fact that majority of Kenyans are largely illiterate in matters and issues economics.
And another thing the president talked about is that he wants to create space for the young generation, younger leadership, Do you believe in the young generation that
That is
was
what
his
President Uhuru did. When he was becoming the president, he was not a young generation. Why did he start creating space for them at that time? President Uhuru Kenyatta knows that whatever the old generation is sitting on now, the young generation will come and sit on it. And the reverse is not true. He is just trying to entice the young generation because of their large numbers, to incite them against the current government, to use them to overthrow this government in his way. But the young generation must remember and see through his tricks. He is trying to please the young generation. His own political party, the leadership is not young. The other two opposition parties that they collaborate with, like DCP and PLP, has Martha Karua, who is almost 70, has Rigathi Gachagua, he is approaching 70, and even the entire leadership is not. So why are they lying to the young people? If they want the young people to take over, Uhuru must relinquish the leadership of Jubilee to a young person. Rigathi Gachagua must relinquish the leadership of his party to that young person. And so is Martha Karua. But we cannot have people who even fought in just the last general election. And now they gang up together to fight the president of the day, simply because they come from one community. Nothing else. Don't tell me anything else.
But again,
there is no good reason known to man why Rigathi Gachagua and Martha Karua are now bosom friends. There is no good reason on earth why Uhuru is now collaborating with Rigathi Gachagua. And when you see Uhuru trying to front Matiang'i, he's trying to return to power through a proxy. And we are not going to allow it.
No, just on that, because the president talked about numerous things, and I want you to respond. When he said that he does not believe in segregation, especially that being from another community gives you a quite severe, good CV to be president, or you're a single mother, so you should be president. He doesn't believe that. Do you think he's sincere?
Uhuru is utmost dishonesty, because when Uhuru included Raila Odinga in his handshake shenanigans, he did not bring in inclusivity to include members of Raila Odinga's community into his government, other than the ones he had before, because they supported him. At least President William Ruto brought in many people from the community to be part of his government. But this is a man that, despite Raila Odinga coming to help him to stabilize his government, there is no single CS that he took from Raila Odinga's party. Because in his head he believes these are people who cannot be part of a government. He doesn't believe that. It is during Uhuru Kenyatta that protesters were run over by motor vehicles on Kenyatta Avenue. Can he come and talk about such things? So Uhuru Kenyatta is the wrong one. He is lucky he comes from a community with large numbers that he can incite by the flip of a finger and go on the streets to protest for non-issues. In any case, Article 37 was not put in the Constitution as a sport. That when you feel like unataka kunyorosa mizuri, tunaenda kwa barabara. If there is a problem, you first go to court. If the court fails, that is when you go to the road. When the media was being closed down, they didn't go to the road. They went to the court, and the court granted them an order which is still in force. All these are the things why they're going to the road, because they know going to the road is overthrowing the government. Going to court is seeking justice. They didn't want to seek justice. They wanted to overthrow a government of a person they believe does not come from a community which should lead this country. That is the truth. And there's something I always tell people. The first president of Kenya was Jomo Kenyatta I. It is clear to every Kenyan that it took the magnanimity of Jaramogi Odinga for him to be president. The second president was President Moi. It took the constitution of Kenya then to make it him president. The third president was Mwai Kibaki. It took the magnanimity of Raila Odinga to make him president. The fourth president was Uhuru Kenyatta. It took the selfishness of him and his community to be president against Raila Odinga, who was the more preferred candidate. And Uhuru was also put in power using Ruto. Without Ruto, Uhuru would have not been president. He would have not made it. So these people have been helped to be president. But when somebody is now president, they want him out. Uhuru should be the last person to come and criticize President William Ruto, a man who single-handedly made him president and helped him govern this country until he thought he should not get out of office and should call Ruto Tanga Tanga so that he embraces Raila Odinga to come back as a prime minister. So President Ruto, then the fifth president, came to power out of his charisma, stamina, hard work, and selling himself to the people of Kenya, including the people of Mount Kenya, which he convinced that he's a better candidate than Raila Odinga, and they voted for him en masse. And there's a language they keep telling us again and again.
Yeah.
That the Kikuyu voted for President William Ruto knowing he was not a Kikuyu. Of course they knew he was not, but they didn't have a choice. The choice was either Raila or Ruto. The other two candidates did not have what I call believability. They were not credible candidates. So the credible candidates were Raila and Ruto. And they had no choice. They had to vote for one of them. And Raila had been demonized for a long time by that community. So Ruto was the better option. So let them not come to public again and tell us, oh, we voted Ruto knowing that he was not a Kikuyu. Who else would they have voted for? Have a beautiful evening.
Wonderful. As we conclude this conversation, that is, you see, when the president talked yesterday, he really aligned a lot of issues, and I think we'll have much more time to discuss those issues, especially, for example, in security. We have not touched about that, but I think we'll touch that in another platform. Thank you so much for making time for us, Mwalimu. Good to see you.